Hey there, all you farm living fools. Here's today's project. The rollers on my zero turn, it's a 60-inch, so it has four rollers. They keep you from going over humps and stuff and sculpting the ground. Mine are getting wore on a funny angle, but more importantly, the insides are just wallered out. These things just flop on there. It's 10 years old. So, let me turn you down here and show you this. We have two choices, maybe more. The two I can think of is buy all new because everything's wore out. The metal to plastic, this part here, is all wallered out. So they just flop. So if you bought new ones of these, which you could do, no, you couldn't. The inside of the bolt to the sleeve is fine. That's probably why they did it. The sleeve is what wears. And you can see how this one, I wore one side and then I turned it. Maybe you can. And I wore the other side. There's one even better than that. This one, I wore this one right down to about nothing. And then I flipped it, tightened it down again, and wore the other side. So I got full use out of them. They're wore right out. You can see right down to the threads here on this one here. So buying new sleeves is going to keep it from eating the bolt up, but we're still going to have this floppiness. All four of them are shot. So here's what we do. We go for a shop tour. I'll show you what I'm working on. They're $25 a wheel for the full setup. You know, I'm looking at $100 plus tax. So I decided, come over here, to make my own. Well, rebuild them, fix them, make them better. You know me. So here's what we got. I don't know if this is actually going to be better, but it's going to last for another, I don't know, maybe 10 years. So here's a wheel. I got it in a vise, 3/4 inch drill bit. It don't have to be precise. That's the fun thing about some of these things. Precision is not important. We're going to go over there on the lathe in a minute. I'll show you how fun that is. So we're just going to drill this out to an even 3/4, right? I don't know, that's what I said. Yep, 3/4. It takes about that long. Then I'll go through and make sure it's square, at least mostly. All right, now we're to 3/4. We're smooth. We're 99% of the way. So I made my own sleeve. Now it's got a rough finish on it on purpose. I don't know how many of you guys have lathes, or you can use a drill and I don't know, grinder. But I used a sharp point bit. So as it travels, it still leaves those ridges. If I'd used an angle bit, it would have given me a shinier finish. I could still sand this, buff it all out, but I don't want to. I want that rough finish so when I go in here, it bites on this plastic. Now, I took a 7/8 rod and turned it down to just about 4 thousandths over 3/4 so that it would be a force fit. So we're going to take that over to the next station and get started hammering that in there in a second. But I want to show you what's going on at the lathe. Besides, I can hear it shut off again, which is what it's supposed to do. So this lathe, it's an old lathe. I don't know, I think it's a South Bend. So it's kind of a name brand, but it's a smaller hobby type lathe. So I've got enough length here, another 5 inches, so I can make two more. I already made one test fit. I'm making one with you guys, and then I want to turn out two more. So we're going to fire this up. We're going to cut it. I've already measured it with the micrometer, so I'm about 3 to 4, maybe 5 thousandths over. And then we're going to let this go. It'll shut itself off. That'll just cut across there and make it all one diameter. And when that's done, I'll take the centering bit or live center out of it. And I've got a Jacob's chuck here I'll throw in next, and we'll drill out the center to the size of the bolt. So let's let that do its thing. You ain't got to stand here and watch it and listen to it. We'll go back over and do the next part. It's a little bit of a process, but I kind of get it going in order, one thing after another. Oh, I should have took you over there. That's all right. You can go with me. We'll take this out of the vise. I can let that lathe work. I know I got to clean this place up, but it's work, work, work. I can let that lathe do its thing, saving me time. while I work on the rest of this. So I just come over here to the anvil. I need to get a block for it, I know. And just set this over the hole so I can drive it in. And it should go right in. Okay, that's probably a tighter fit than I needed. And I didn't cut it off. I can cut it off later. We'll get it hammered in. I'll do it like, I'll pretend like I did it this way on purpose. We'll get that to where we want it inside, or a touch more. And then we can cut this back off. But I'll show you, before we cut that off, what we're after. Back over here at the bench. Just running circles out here. That's what I do. I'm in circles. Walk around this stuff till I trip on it. Eventually I'll clean it when I get caught up on some of my work. Alright, so over here what we're looking at doing, now that we got that sleeve all the way in there, we got extra on the back, but I can cut that off with a chop saw. We just want to run a bolt inside now. Well, I don't want to push it in there, I might not get it out. It's a little rough inside. I just drilled that out. Anyhow, we'll get it in there. But now understand that we're rubbing on the bolt to the inside of the sleeve. Now I'll grease it, but there's no greaser. And I'll tell you that I'm going to take it out and grease it next year, but I'm not gonna. So that's our next step, is to get that. But one more thing. I'm going to go over to my bolt man, and we'll upgrade the bolt too, huh? What do you think of that? Eeny, meeny, miny, this one. What do you think? That one? Sit you down. You can see. Yep, right here. Might as well grab all three. I'm going to use a hardened bolt. The goldish colored ones. I think they're number 8. They're going to wear a lot slower or harder than the other bolts that are in it. Yeah, I'll put the other bolts back in the bin because that's cheap. That's how I am. But this is going to go right through here nice and easy. Whew. I might run a drill bit back through that. It seems a little tight. Huh. Okay, that's no big deal. I wanted it snug, but I don't want it so tight that I can't grease it and put it on. But basically all we're going to do is put this bolt through. We'll have a washer on the end to keep that wheel from coming off just in case it gets loose, which I doubt it will as hard as I hammered it in. And then we'll double nut this side onto the tractor, the lawnmower, so it can spin on this bolt. So there's what I'm doing today. Let's go back over to the lathe and see how the work there's going. Run around, back and forth. That's my day. Jump around. Even though I'm making this for tomorrow, you guys already seen me fixing on the sawmill, so I just keep going until things are done. Hey, look, we got over here just in time to watch this shut off. There it goes. Perfect. Huh. Now, it's a good idea when this auto shut off happens that you still go over here and make sure you turn it off. You start, like if you start cranking on this and pulled it back out, it would start up again. So just something to think about. So that should be the right outside diameter. Oh, right on the money. So the next step would be, stay out of your way, basically get this out of our way. I need to clean it. I guess I need to clean this up too. It's getting a lot of burrs on it. Let me just move that back. Our next step, I'll get you back where you can see this too. Just time. But I would have spent 40 minutes driving to the store and back and a bunch of money. So let's just make one here. The way you bump this out, that's kind of neat. I didn't know this when I first started doing machine work. Is you just crank this back. Now I put a white line in there so I know when it happens. But when you kick this backwards, it somehow would have punched this Morris taper right out of there. Some of these have these levers and you can pop, but in this one you just back it off, pops it right out. Ooh, forgot to loosen that. No wonder it cranks so hard. Yeah, things you're not supposed to do to your lathe. I do it all the time because I forget. Uh-oh. I might not have enough lathe here for 2. Oh, it's going to be. I want to make it. I'm excited now. Get that in there. Now, it won't auto drill. but I'll just do a little bit with you guys and we'll take off on this. Little lube, whatever you pick. I like Deep Creek for this because it just tends to stick a little better. You see the foam on there? I started a little hard. And then, I don't know, more noise. It'll quiet down so you just past that rough area. And you can just crank this bad boy right in there. You can see the burrs coming out. You should have a string like that coming out. That's the proper speed. It's cutting good. You can see how nice it is. If you want to break it off, just stop. It'll break off. Just start screwing the thing back in. That's how you make steel wool. All those long burrs. Just kidding. Can you guys see that? Am I in your way? It might be in your way. I can't. I gotta use two hands. I think it's fun anyway. I'm making parts. This is just an old piece of rod I had around. The ends where they chop them, they use a really big machine. And when they chop these into the lengths that they make, I think 24 foot, if I remember right, 21, I can't remember. It bends the metal on the ends. When it chops the metal, it hits so hard that it bends the metal a little before it breaks it. So those ends aren't really the best for machine work, but you can use them on stuff like lawnmowers. I mean, it's gonna work just fine. We'll drill a little bit more in here, and then I can do this when you guys aren't watching and hanging out. But in this particular instance, it always strikes me as funny because you're turning the part, and the drill bit sits still, and it just kind of messes with your mind a little bit. But pretty much got to drill all the way to the end of the flutes for this particular project. Now, I'm making two at once, but I'll drill to the end of the flutes. I'll cut that one off, and I should have a little extra drill into the next part so I can use it for centering, if that makes sense. So we got 2.5 inches that we need for our part. I'm going to go 3 inches on this, so I have an inch started on the next part, and that'll center the drill bit perfectly. I don't use that word very often, but should center it really nice. This is just the project to work on. I think it's neat. Maybe I'll throw a video in when I put it on the lawnmower, but that's just a matter of installing them. It won't be any different than the original. Or you get the idea. I can finish that up later. So the next part would be cutting that off. That's going to be noisy. You guys don't want to hear all that. Yeah, Farm Living Fool, and I got my C10 build going on in my other channel, Darren 67 to 72. If you want to see those shenanigans, I got to get busy. I'm doing all this farm stuff, and I got to jump back over there. But I'm gonna fiddle around with these wheels. Get the next two put in these two. I'll figure out what bolts, what washers I want. Whatever I don't use here, like these heavy washers I use for thrush washers, I put them in the bin. Might use them for something. These are pretty much, they're scrap. It's just the way it is. Now, some of you might be asking why I didn't turn out one of these. That kind of looks like a valve, but with this flathead on there, I could have, and I would have had to go bigger, which I could have went to the 3/4 that I drilled out and made the tire wear again, rather than the way I'm doing it, it's wearing on the bolt. I have options. Next time I wear a bolt out, I can put a new one in. I can drill bigger to the next size bolt and put that in. And then I could drill it all out and go bigger with one of these. Anyway, I have options. My plan is to never buy another tire, although I have a spare brand new one. These are wearing on the inside because they were bent, but there's a lot of tires still left there. This one too. This is probably the worst one with that bevel because it was bent out. We just left it. I didn't get around to fixing it, so it ran on an angle, which in this case leaves me a nice high spot before it's wore out. Plenty of plastic left. Let's just keep using them. Let's keep fixing. Let's keep using them. All right. Well, thanks for coming. Appreciate you guys watching everything. Maybe you learned something. Maybe you didn't. Maybe I'm doing something you can make fun of. That's pretty likely. But that's my shenanigans. All right. I got to go.